I'm going to share with you some amazing animal stories, and I promise you, they will amaze you. For over 2 decades, I've been an animal communicator, and I've talked with thousands of animals. I've personally seen and experienced some incredible things with them. With their humans' permission, I will be sharing my animal clients' inspiring stories of how we healed them back to health, cured them of unwanted behaviors, and helped make their lives with their people even better. These are amazing animal stories.
And welcome to a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Speaking of beautiful, nice haircut, by the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You are just dynamic in all ways, in many, many ways. Coryelle Kramer with, and this is Amazing Animal Stories with Coryelle Kramer. And my name is Kevin McDonald, and I'd like to thank you all for coming in and joining us today. We're looking to have a really, really fine show, as Ed Sullivan used to say. It's a really fine show. And Coryelle is going to tell us what we're going to do today.
We're going to be talking about 2 bully boys. I call them the Bully Boyz, and their names are Sidney and Bama. And basically what Amazing Animal Stories are the actual stories of actual results that I had in my client sessions. These are all done with their humans' permission. I ask consent. I don't use the humans' names, but I use the animals' names. And Amazing Animal Stories, I wanted to share with people what the original problems were, what we did, and what the results were. And Bama and Sidney were, I think I started working with them in 2001. So very, very early on after I started doing the animal dynamics. I think we started working together in February. So yeah, it was really, I got certified in August. And then I started developing the dynamics in August of 2020. So I hadn't been doing the animal dynamics a very long time.
No, but it was something that you have been working with and developing over a period of time, and it continues to develop. It really is fascinating to watch.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It really is. And it's incredible how this work that I'm doing now has gotten the amazing results that they have. It's just it's still blowing my mind, in a good way. So the original contact form that I was sent, okay, this was what was going on. Actually, it turned out that Sidney was the one that really needed a lot more help, but I was originally contacted because of Bama. So let's show the first picture, which was Sidney before we even started working together. That's Sidney. Now, a little background on Sidney. So Sidney is, at the time, he was 4 years old. So he's probably about almost close to 6 now. And the background on Sidney was extremely overprotective of the wife in the household. He used to attack Bama, and what happened is that it reversed. So Bama was actually attacking Sidney on 3 or 4 separate occasions. Both boys are rescues. The owner surrenders, so there's baggage there. Fear. I was getting that there was fear that they may lose the people that they were having now. Bama was more, not so much that he was not feeling comfortable and confident, but the issue with Bama was that he was worried that because Sidney was acting out, and Sidney had crazy anxiety. I mean, really crazy anxiety, to the point where he was almost hyperventilating every single time the wife got home, or he got upset when if she left the house for any amount of time. So it's like he was having crazy anxiety. So Sidney was on things like fluoxetine, He was on the highest max. And fluoxetine is a tranquilizer. So he was on 20 milligrams. That's the highest. And it basically was doing nothing. So that's a little bit of background on what was going on with Sidney. Again, he had crazy anxiety, had separation issues, was overprotective of the wife. In fact, he was so overprotective that if the husband tried to, show any affection to his wife, he would growl and he would lunge. So, I mean, the hubby was constantly having to wear a buzzer, for his shock collar, because that's the only thing that would make him feel safe, because Sidney had gotten him a couple of times. So, I mean, even the relationship within the humans in the house was being affected by this, They constantly needed to be separated. Baby gates all over the house, and the baby gates were closed. So, they can't, if you go into the wife's office, there was a baby gate in front of the door, because what would happen is anybody who tried to get into the office, Sidney would go and lunge at them. Whether it was Bama or whether it was a husband. So that's pretty much Sidney's background. Now, what I got originally called in for was the wife was saying Bama has begun attacking Sidney over what I believe is jealousy with my attention. Prior to that, Sidney was the one who was doing attacking. And then also they said, I'd like to know why he's on the attack side. Neither pet attacks unless they are with me or they're together. So if it was just the husband home, it would be no problem. But the minute the wife was brought into the situation, either she would spend time at home because it was COVID. It was really, everybody was home during that time because it was in extreme COVID. So she was working from home. She was working stressful, long hours. And if the minute the wife was brought into the equation, the dynamic would change between Sidney and Bama.
So, Coryelle, when you say attack, are you saying growling and baring teeth and stuff, or are we talking about actually attacking?
We're talking actual attacking aggression.
Now, these dogs they're scary. They're so strong.
Well, bulldogs are they're no lightweights for sure, which is one of the reasons why they're called bulldogs. It's they were originally bred to bring down bulls, and so they're no like wussy kind of dogs. They're very muscular. As you can see, Sidney's teeth, his teeth are no joke. You don't want to have that around your thigh or around your calf or any other place on your body.
He just looks mean in that.
Yeah, he looked extremely like lost in this photograph. This was before we started working together,
Right.
So if you can show the picture of Bama, please.
Yes, ma'am. Just keep talking.
So the background on Bama is 5 years old. So he's a little bit older than Sidney. So he'd probably be around 7 now. And again, what was happening with Bama, and look at Bama. I mean, Bama, for all intents and purposes, Bama is really easygoing. He's got this easygoing, chill kind of energy. Oh, thanks, Jennifer. I appreciate that.
Well, I even got one. How about that, huh?
Good. You're good. That's great. So Bama, he's got really, really chill energy. So a little bit of background on Bama. Again, he was 5 years old at the time. He was possibly having jealousy with the wife and with Sidney. The boys needed to be separated, baby gates up in front of the home office, all over the place. So if you wanted to go into one room, you would have to open up a baby gate. in order to get into it. Now, the other thing that I need to say is this. They were really not able to sit in the same room, because if the wife was brought into the equation, there would be crazy jealousy. So even they couldn't watch TV together. It was crazy. It was absolutely kookaboo. So what would happen was that what I was getting was, again, Bama is a rescue. Okay, so he was an owner surrender, but differently from Sidney, Bama, up until a certain point, felt secure in the fact that he was in his right place. He found his forever home. Him and the hubby were very close. He loved the wife, don't get me wrong, but him and the hubby were very, very close. They were buds. They would hang out together and just, be together. Bama, what I was told was Bama was fine up until about 6 months. And then all of 6 to 7 months before we started working together. And then what happened was, all of a sudden, Bama attacked Sidney a total of 3 times at that point. Okay. The last time he did was probably about 90 days before we started working together. And it happened when the hubby was home with the wife. So what that tells me is we're having an escalation. What that means is that whereas before he would be absolutely totally fine with just the hubby, but immediately as soon as you bring in the wife into the situation, there seems to be like an escalation going on. Okay. I asked because everything factors in to this equation. What I mean by that is your personal relationships, your business, career relationships, everything factors in. So one of the questions I did ask was, how was the marriage? Marriage was fine. No problems, no issues. Everybody's, getting along great in the marriage, because I wanted to see if there was trouble with in the marriage. Does that mean that that's the cause of the escalation of the aggression? Because both animals don't feel safe in the house if there's issues with the marriage, but the marriage was fine. Okay. The wife did have and does have a very stressful job. Okay. She was understaffed. She was working for a company, very understaffed. She does, she's an underwriter for insurances for doctors and for dentists and stuff like that. It could be a lot of hours. And because of that, she was feeling stressed too. So I also understood that there might have been a correlation between Sidney's stress and the wife's stress, because they were very connected. So that told me there was some situations going on. So I needed to help and try to address the wife's stress as well. Okay.
I can understand that sounds like a really, really fun and enjoyable job, working with papers all day in an office like that. That would, I couldn't do that either, but that's,
I know. So what I was pulling from this intake, which is usually done in the first session or sometimes in the possibility call that I do. Okay. I was getting a pattern. So I'm kind of like Sherlock Holmes. Okay. I'm trying to get all these clues together and put them together so I can get a pattern of what's going on. So I knew that Sidney's fluoxetine was not working. Okay. That's a high-end, calming tranquilizer. Okay. 20 milligrams. He's on the max. Can't go higher than that. Okay. So I knew that wasn't working. So then I started looking into other areas of the situation. I also knew that Bama was easygoing. Okay. He was really easygoing, but then all of a sudden he started to attack Sidney. And I found out also what was happening was that I realized that their dynamics, their animal personality archetypes was also giving me clues to what was going on. So Sidney's dynamic was sensory, but he was in sensory minus spectrum, or in shadow. So what I was getting was, now the sensory, basically there's a lot of different things with the sensory, but with the sensory, you can't rush them. They're extremely, extremely sensitive they overthink things, they worry, they're constantly overthinking things and worrying about stuff. They're sensitive to smells, energies in the house. They're sensitive to everything that has to do with the the senses. So stark movements, don't do it. Quick movements, don't do it. The sensory can't handle that. Okay. Quick movements, loud noises, smells, intense smells in the house. Again, sounds, any kind of sounds. Sidney was he was getting overstimulated by all of his senses. Okay. I also found out later, once I did his healing intensive, and I'll go into that in a little bit, but I found out that he was also energetic, but his energetic was in such a low minus spectrum, meaning his energetic was such on a low grade scale. It was in the minus spectrum, and it was so negative that I wasn't even reading it until we got the healing intensive on board. And then I realized that he was also an energetic, he was a sensory energetic. So the energetic, basically sensitive to the energies of people, places, things, and situations. So he was not only was he getting overstimulated by his senses from the sensory dynamic and archetype, which is kind of like the empathic. So the sensory is also empathic. So they get a sense for people's, how people are feeling and their stress levels. So the wife, in a very, very stressful job, also dealing with, we were in the throes of COVID and everybody was home, so there was nobody. It was too much for him. And also he got a sense for the way that the wife was feeling, stress level, not only the wife, but also the husband. Remember, the husband always had the buzzer on, just in case, so that he could, buzz Sidney in case he started getting aggressive.
That's interesting. So the shock collar, basically. I've never even seen a shock collar. What are they exactly?
It's not even they're not they shouldn't really be called shock collars anymore. It's a buzzer. So what it is that they've got a couple of things. So they got a noise that you can press the button on certain collars. You can press button and a noise sounds. So what happens is that the first or second time you buzz them, they'll hear they understand that noise represents that if they don't relax and calm down, that the buzzer, the vibration, and again, it's not even a shock, it's more of a vibration. It just gets them back into their bodies. Because when you have an animal who's very, he's barking all the time, he's not cognitively there. He's left the building. He's like Elvis. He's left the building. They're not there anymore. So yelling at them, screaming at them, telling them to stop, they're not there. So what the vibration of the collar does is it gets them to get back into their body.
Gotcha. I understand that. And Jennifer says people don't realize how animals feed off of us and our energy.
Very much so. Very much so. This is why I work the way I do now. Because I used to, like I said, I used to do one and done sessions. And that was it, hoping, and I had a very good track record. I really did. I had a good track record, but I wasn't able to really and truly bring in the other factors into the situation. And the other factors are the energy of the house, the energy of the people, what's going on with that person, in their personal lives. Have they gone through a traumatic situation where all of a sudden the animal is feeling it and they're reliving it, and they have to, they're having their stress levels going through the roof. So unwanted behaviors come up, especially when somebody tells me all of a sudden my animal is doing this. Sometimes that's a clue. Yes, sometimes it's physical, absolutely. And I always tell people, check with your vet. Make sure that your animal is healthy. Okay, because I'm an empath, I'm not a vet. So I always tell people, don't rely on me. Okay, take your animal to the vet first, and then we can work together later. But everything factors into the situation. Now, Bama, on the other hand, Bama's dynamic is an energetic rule breaker. So he was what that tells me is, first off, his main dynamic, the one that's driving the bus, is energetic. Okay? So if he feels the energy from Sidney, and Sidney's stress level is through the roof, it's going to eventually affect Bama, even though he's easygoing, chill kind of dog. Okay. But what was happening was that, and unlike Sidney, Bama was really in the positive spectrum of the energetic. So he was in the healthy thing. He was able to, again, the energetic, sensitive to the energies of people, places, things, and situations. So Bama basically was good to just, chill out, relax. He's all right. He's not going to let Sidney's energy affect him. But what eventually started happening was Sidney's stress levels started to get so high that it did start to wonk Bama's energetic out. And the rule breaker tells me that he's thinking outside the box. So what that tells me is that, Bama is not so much the cookie cutter dog. He needs something that's going to help him. The techniques that I invoked were techniques that I had never done before. But Bama, really and truly, I knew that because he was a rule breaker, he most likely would start lining up with the outside the box techniques that I started to bring in. So,
gotcha. A question for you, and it just struck me.
Mm-hmm.
The energy in the house between the parents, between the siblings, that can affect them in a myriad of ways, can it?
Absolutely. Because especially if they're sensitive to it, yes.
Now, even a puppy coming into the house?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, there's a reason I asked that.
Because even puppy, I mean, think of a child, a little kid understands and feels the energies, and that's why you sometimes act the way they do. They don't want to be going near the weird uncle. They don't want to be going near the weird auntie. Ooh, I don't like her. Kids are very sensitive to it. So even more so than adults are. So, the puppy is really going to be feeling the energy, and he's going to be probably acting out the best way that he can, because that's the only way that animals can really let us know that something is wrong. They cannot write a Post-it note and stick it on the refrigerator. Hey, Mom, how you doing? Happy Tuesday. Okay. Listen, energy in the house is kind of wonky. Do me a favor and smudge the place, would you? They can't do it. They have to get our attention somewhere. And sometimes, a lot of the times, because animals are telepathic, a lot of the times the animals have been sending us messages for a while, but we're just not getting it. If you're not tuned into and knowing how to communicate with your animal on a telepathic level, their last bastion, their last stance, the last thing that they can do is physical unwanted behaviors. Pooping outside the litter box, peeing outside the litter box, aggression, scratching, crying in the middle of the night, whatever, to get our attention.
That's interesting. Have you ever in your career, just out of curiosity, said to a couple, okay, guys, you need to fix your relationship because your relationship is all screwed up and it's causing the energy for the animals to be all screwed up. So if you want to fix them, you got to fix yourself first.
Well, I would never say anything say something like that. But
You're more
I would, what I have found, and we'll talk about this in some of the stories that I'll talk about later. There has been instances where there has been extreme abuse in the human relationship. And because of that, the animals were deeply affected. So luckily enough, the person who I worked with was already out of that situation. But interestingly enough, she had blocked out that situation. And it wasn't until we had our session that I told her animal is being affected by something that happened in your past. And then she remembered it. She was like, oh yeah, I remember now. So yes, it can absolutely. I haven't, specifically had a client yet whose relationship, was in that situation, but that's why I work over weekly sessions, because I want to help heal everyone in the situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So Sidney's issues, crazy fear and anxiousness. Okay. Separation from the wife was unbelievably hard on him. Okay. When she would get home from work, when she would get home from a vacation. Okay. It would take him like an hour to calm down. Okay. And he hyperventilates. Now, for anybody who understands bulldogs, hyperventilating for any dog is not good. Okay. But for the snot nose, these kinds of, dogs, not good, really not good, because they can have a heart attack. They can pass out. Because they're not getting enough energy. They're not getting enough air because their noses are pressed up. Okay. So they don't have the longish nose that enables the air to flow freely. They have to, it's compromised. Okay. So you don't want a bulldog to hyperventilate. Okay. For any dog, but especially any kind of a short snouted dog, you don't want them breathing too hard. Okay. Sidney was on fluoxetine, okay, 20 milligrams, nothing. Okay, wasn't doing anything. Sidney was also jealous of the cats in the household. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, he's still going after the cats, but I had a little talk with him today, and he told me that he was going to be better with the cats, so hopefully that'll work. Okay. No one could be left alone. Everybody had to be under constant supervision. Constant supervision. You can't leave the dogs alone. Okay. Because even with the baby gates, all right, if a dog wants to get through a baby gate to get to another dog, that baby, yes, sir. Okay. Constant supervision. Bama's issues. Bama triggers. Okay. He feels like it's more because he's unsure of how he needs to act around Sidney. He doesn't feel safe around Sidney. He doesn't feel calm around Sidney. So what happens is Bama gets triggered and he decides, I'm going to get him before he gets me. Okay. Again, it's Bama's issues where he was all of a sudden he was fine. Sidney was the aggressor with Bama. And then all of a sudden, 6 months or so before we started working together, Bama decides he's going to go after Sidney. So now what happens is that now nobody can be trusted. Before, everybody kind of trusted Bama because he was chill. But now you don't know when he's going to go after Sidney or if he's going to go after Sidney. Again, constant supervision. All right. So, like I said, I believed, and I got during the intake, that Sidney was in sensory, shadow, or minus spectrum. Okay. So he is super the sensory, again, is sensitive to smells, sounds, quick movements, things like that, that you can't rush a sensory. Okay. You cannot rush them. If you try to rush them, they're going to either wonk out and freak out, or they're going to and run away, or they're going to get aggressive because they don't want to be rushed. And he was in deep, 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 deep energetic minus spectrum. So I wasn't even feeling his energetic until we had done the healing intensive. Okay. This was something unusual. Usually what I'll do is I will do a healing intensive, one animal in one session, and then the next session, the other animal. What I got, though, and this was an intense session. This was like, I think it was close to 3.5 hours. Okay. What I got that I needed to do that healing intensive for Sidney and Bama, one after the other, because what would happen was one would feel better. Okay. But then the other one was not feeling better. And if I had waited, they were going to get triggered. And then he was going to get, I was going to have to do another healing intensive on him, because they were both ping-ponging and triggering each other. So I did I think it was 3.5 hour healing intensive. I did Sidney first, and then I did Bama. So what was done? Healing intensive, I got the consent. Okay. They both gave their consent. Again, I don't do anything without the consent of the animal or the person, because if I don't have their consent, if they don't want to change, I can't change them. So that's why it's important to get consent from the animal. Plus, also, it's good manners. Animals are put upon and assumed upon all the time. I don't want to assume upon them and just assume that they want to feel better when they maybe might not want to feel better. So healing intensive for both of them. Now, at the time, I was doing a 3-level healing intensive. This was early on in the animal dynamic work. Now I'm doing a 5-level. So at the time, I did health scan, chakras, auric field. I also gave them, and I'll tell you this a little bit later on, but I gave them touches, the animal dynamic touches to do for each specific dynamic. And I also gave them chakra touches, the human chakra touches to do, especially on Sidney, because when his stress level is too high at certain times, he would get super excited. So he would have separation anxiety issues when the wife left. When he was going to get fed, he would get all excited and just go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So I realized, and I got, when he was getting the times that he was getting stressed out, and I channeled and got chakra touches, which are touches that you do, certain patterns that you do on the certain places of the chakras, and it aligns the chakras instantaneously and stops the behavior. So, and then we got flower essence combos for the boys, which I will go into in a little bit as well. So, yeah.
So that's the intensive. How long does the intensive take?
It depends. An intensive is really a healing intensive session is really no less than, I would say, I have not done one that's less than an hour. Okay. Wow. So, and both of these boys had shadows, and I'll go into that in a second, because I'm going to explain to you exactly what I found in their healing intensive. Okay.
Do tell. What did you find?
Okay, so Sidney's scan. Now, again, I do health. At the time, I did health, chakras, auric field. And I'll explain what the auric field and why that's important. So, health scan, brain, I got his brain lit up. It's kind of like the game Operation for me. So, when I do a scan of an animal, I get stopped and I can't go past that point until I either send healing to that area or at least gather some in the information that's there for me to gather. So his brain feels like it's tied to his nervous system being very shattered. His nervous system to me was extremely unregulated. So I sent that light. Liver and pancreas and gallbladder all needed support. It felt like there was a lot of fear that was stuck in those areas. I got that he had protein in his kidneys and it feels like it's tied to his irritability. So I sent that light. Nervous system, again, I said is shattered and very off balance. I sent that light. I sent light to his immune system because it was totally taxed. I was getting drawn to his back left knee, and he did have an operation on that knee. As if there was something from the operation that was residual stuff from the operation there. So I cleared that out. His cells needed support. So I sent those light. Circulatory system needed support and clearing out. So I sent that light. And then I send light to his entire body. Chakras. His root chakra, all about security and safety, was actually spinning backwards. So it was usually when I see the chakras, they're a sphere. So they're a sphere and they're spinning in the clockwise motion. Okay. His was actually spinning backwards. Second chakra is about desires and wants. Completely closed. What that tells me is that Sidney doesn't believe that he deserves to have desires and wants because he doesn't want to be disappointed. Third chakra, that is the diaphragm. Always very interesting. His was completely clogged. His fourth chakra, his heart chakra, was totally closed. So he was not able to really fully give and receive love. The fifth chakra, which is the throat chakra, was closed. It was actually, no, it wasn't closed. It was spinning too fast. It was like really, really too fast. So that's where all of his, fear and aggression was trapped. So I made sure that we cleared that out. The sixth chakra is the third eye. And that was closed. And that's about being able to be connected to your inner knowing, and to be able to trust. And then his seventh chakra, also about trust and connection to divine, was completely closed. So when I send light to the chakras, I always do the same intention. The intention is it clears it, cleans it, cleanses it, and leaves it spinning in the perfect motion, tempo, direction, and speed. And in the perfect motion, because sometimes they're spinning like this, and they need to be spinning like this. So I make sure that they're spinning in the perfect direction as well.
What are the repercussions of a chakra that's spinning backwards? They're not going back in time, are they?
No. But think about it. I mean, it's about the root chakra is about feeling safe, feeling secure, feeling stable and grounded and centered, quiet in your mind. So what was happening with Sidney was that he was constantly overthinking things too much. Again, that's one of the tips for the sensory. They overthink things too much. And usually when the sensory is overthinking things too much, their root chakra is totally and completely out of balance. So he was exhibiting all these behaviors from an ungrounded root chakra. When you're grounded and centered, you're quiet in your mind, you trust, you feel safe, you feel secure, you feel okay. And when you're not, And when it's running backwards, it's probably not a good thing.
It surely would not seem to be, because does that mean that if it's spinning the right way, that the behaviors are of a positive nature? If it's spinning the wrong way, then the behaviors are of a negative nature, same behavior?
Yeah. It's the opposite of the way that it's supposed to be. It's basically, like I was saying, in the shadow aspect of the dynamics. There's the positive spectrum of the dynamic, the healthy, and then the unhealthy spectrum of each dynamic. So what he was doing was he was not able to feel 100% like, I can unpack my metaphysical bags. I can trust that these people will take care of me. I can trust that they're not going to give me up. I can trust that they really and truly love me. His heart chakra was totally closed, so you're not able to receive love, or give love fully. So the chakras are energy portals in the body. So just think of them like doorways, energetic doorways. So if the doorway is shut, then that is going to affect you. And it's going to affect the animals as well.
Interesting. So what'd you do next?
So we went into the shadows, and that's the auric field. Now, the auric field is about a foot outside the body. Okay. What I've discovered, and I said this before in other videos, but basically when the auric field is not functioning correctly, it can cause physical issues, mental issues. It can cause unwanted behaviors. It can cause a whole lot of things, because their auric field, just like for us, really, their auric field is really their filter. They're filtered to Christ-like consciousness, to unconditional love, to trust, to just like all this kind of stuff. So what happens is that if energy comes in and gets stuck in there, then what starts happening is it starts bouncing around, and then it starts causing issues. So what I found was that, and again, because they're shadows, and they're two-dimensional, I need to mentally have a 3D image of the animal in front of me, so that I can turn it in different ways. I can see him from the top, from the left, from the front, from underneath, from the back, from the right. And because a shadow, this is the way it works for me. I don't know if other people see it this way, and I don't really care, but this is the way it works for me. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So a shadow is two-dimensional. So a shadow that is on the right-hand side, when I'm looking at him from the top, is not going to show up because it's two-dimensional. I have to turn him to the right and see if I can see that shadow. Then I can see that shadow. So that's the way it works for me. So he had his entire rear, all up and down the legs, including the booty area, okay, was all in shadow. So his entire butt was in shadow. He had a shadow on the right side and underneath of him over his heart. What I do is I do a technique that I developed, and I call it a dyad. And what I do is I ask the energy to manifest so I can see it, as opposed to talking to all different kinds of shadows. So I ask it to merge together and manifest into whatever image they want. They can choose a demon, they can choose a black dog, they can choose a butterfly, they can choose, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. It's not going to scare me. But this way I can talk to it. And that's what the dyad is. So I ask a question back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Same question over and over and over again, so that this energy can get its messages, its guidance, its information out to whoever the being it's attached to. And then eventually the shadows lighten up, and they go back into pure positive energy, and they can go back to source or God or universe, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Okay.
So that is your, and then now is that kind of like your aura? Would that be like
Yeah,
that field? Okay.
that's the auric field. Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I call it the auric field, because it's the aura. Okay, I get it now. I'm slow, but I get it.
That's okay. So Sidney is actually, and it doesn't really mean anything. I don't think it means anything. I haven't found any, correlation between whatever it manifests into. But Sidney is manifested into a 7-foot winged bat. So he had a 7-foot wingspan, and by the time it was all done, it went back to pure positive energy, and I was able to release it and let it go. And what happens is that the animals start feeling better immediately. So they will show you some way, shape, or form that they're feeling better. So here we go. So then I did, so that was Bama, that was Sidney. Bama had nervous system issues, immune system issues. He had lymphatic system issues. So I cleared all that out. His root chakra was stagnant. His second chakra was sluggish. His third chakra was clogged. His fourth chakra was slow. His fifth chakra was closed. His sixth chakra was closed, and his seventh chakra was open. But only a slit, and I sent all that light. And then he had a shadow on his back legs, and I did the same technique that I did with Sidney. The other thing that we did, so we did the healing intensive in one fell swoop, 3.5 hours, bam, everybody's good, okay, because I didn't want anybody triggering anybody else. So then what I did was I showed the person chakra touches, and the chakra touches were specifically for Sidney at different intervals. So like an hour before he got fed, I showed them a specific chakra touch to do for him there. An hour before she leaves for work, I gave her a chakra touch to give to him to calm and relax his nervous system and his root chakra. And then another one to do when she came home, so that it would regulate his nervous system and he wouldn't hyperventilate. And then I showed them the animal dynamic touches for their different chakras, their different dynamics. So each dynamic has got a different way that likes to be touched. So the energetic is an energetic touch. The sensory has got like a different kind of touch that they really like and enjoy. And then I gave them flower essences. Now these are important because everything's important, but the flower essences I love giving. I get a combination of flower essences and I give that to the person. And I love the fact that it's actually their person who's making them heal. They're giving I'm not doing anything. I just prescribe them. Okay. But they're actually helping their animals heal. So Sidney and Bama both had 2 combinations. For Sidney, his first combination was red chestnut. Red chestnut is for codependency. He was very separation anxiety. He was very connected to the wife. Holly, because of jealousy. Holly's for jealousy. Honeysuckle for letting go of the past, so he can really and truly unpack his metaphysical bags and understand that this is his forever home. Mimulus is for known fears. So fear of loud noises, fear of men, fear of women, fear of rejection, known fears. And then white chestnut for the squirrel mind. And then also aspen for unknown fears. It's, when I connected to Sidney, he's like, I don't know. I just am scared. I don't know why I'm scared. So I gave him that. And rock rose is for panic. Chicory is for neediness. And then heather enables them to just let go of their fear of rejection and things like that there. Now Bama, I got him on vine. Vine is for dominance. I wanted to chill him out. Elm because he gets overwhelmed by Sidney. And elm is for being overwhelmed. Beech is for tolerance. Chestnut bud for breaking bad habits. Scaleranthus for emotional, mental, and physical balance in his mind, body, and his spirit. And walnut so that he could accept change, so that he can accept his change. He was he was changing and he was growing and he was getting better. So,
So now
yeah.
the essences are they administered, and are they like droplets that are each one is a couple of droplets and then you put that in their food? How does this work?
Yeah. So the drops, the flower essences are essentially flower water. Okay. Some places have a preservative in it, like brandy, but it's so little, it's not going to bother them at all. And they're drops. So essentially what's the best way to administer them is through the water. You can give it to them in their food, but it's better to have it in the water if possible. If they don't drink a lot of water, what you can also do is you can put the drops on your fingertips and then rub it into the inside of the ear, because what happens is there's a lot of veins and capillaries and it'll go straight into the bloodstream. Okay. Or water or food. So that's what we did and Bama started really feeling better and letting go. He just stopped attacking Sidney almost immediately. As soon as we did the healing intensive, a couple of weeks later, they got the flower essence combinations and they started giving them to him, and he started really doing good. He stopped attacking Sidney. The second combination for Sidney was argramony. Now, what it is that the flower essences, we need to get them on the first, it's like an onion. So you got to peel away these layers in order to get to the core of the issues. Because if I gave him the combination number 2 before number 1, it wouldn't have worked, because he needed to peel away that first issue of his fear and rejection and the jealousy and all this kind of stuff. And then we can free him up for something else. So he had argramony. Argramony is for inner peace and contentment. He had gentian for being jovial and a little bit more at ease and not taking stuff so seriously. And gorse is energy and vitality, and sweet chestnut was to release his trauma from whatever he had in his past. And then walnut was for change also. And for Bama, his second one was beech, which is for tolerance. Rock water for being more flexible in his thinking and being more at ease and not being so concerned about what Sidney is doing. Holly for jealousy. And again, he had scaleranthus because we want to give him emotional, mental, and physical support. So, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask for somebody that isn't really aware of the flower essences, where do they go buy them? Can you get them online?
You can get them anywhere. I personally like a place called Rebecca's Herbs.com. The reason I like them is they're a place in Colorado. They make their own flower essences. They don't add anything to the flower essences. It's just flower water. That's what essentially flower essences are. It's been flowers from different trees and plants and herbs and weeds that have been set in a glass of water and then put out into the sun. So the flower essences the flowers actually act kind of like a solar panel, and they infuse the water with the essence of the flower and whatever that flower can heal. Okay. So I like Rebecca'sHerbs.com. I think it's a great place. And I highly recommend them because, again, they don't add anything, but there's nothing in their flower essences except flower water. And, but you can find them on Amazon, Bach Flowers. Bach Flower Remedies is the most well-known.
Gotcha.
Okay. So what's been happening since we worked together? There's been only one attack, okay, since working together. And the reason that was it wasn't anything other than the fact that the fire alarm went off and it wonked Sidney out. Again, he's a sensory. He's sensitive to loud noises, strange noises. So what happened was that he got all keyed up, and because the smoke alarm went off, and he absolutely hates it, and he freaked out, and Bama walked into the bedroom, and Sidney jumped off the bed and charged him, just barking. He didn't attack him. He just barked at him. And Bama didn't react either. All he did was he would have grabbed Sidney and gone after him. No. Bama just walked away, casually walked away. No problems, no issues. Okay. His person tells me that he's much more calmer. He's much more relaxed. Does he still go after the cats? Yes, a little bit. I've had a talk with him. Hopefully that will stop as well. But this is the last picture I want to show. If you could put that up.
Nah.
These two couldn't even be in the same room together. They would have to have a person sitting in between them. All right. That's Sidney on the left and Bama on the right.
And you look at Bama looking at him, it's like, I'm not sure about this, but I'll try.
The other thing that's really important, it's a technique that I developed, was I had their people do what I call hangouts. And what I mean by that is because there was such an issue with the living room, what I did was I had the people hanging out together in the living room with me on Zoom and doing living room walkies back and forth. Every day they would do walkies in the living room. The living room was the catalyst. This is where nobody felt safe. So if they had walkies, and there were times that what I started off doing was I started off with the wife holding Sidney and the hubby holding Bama. And then we would switch it up because I wanted Sidney to feel safe with the husband. I also told the husband that as of right now, starting when we started working together, he was what I call the treat guy. He would give treats. He was the treat guy. No more would the wife do the treats. I wanted the hubby to do the treats so that the dogs could look at them and realize, oh, he's a good guy. He gives us treats. So there are techniques that I did with them that really helped them get closer. And what I started off doing was I started off having the dogs on each person's side, not in the middle. The people were in the middle and the dogs were on either side. And I would have them hold and go around so that the dogs were always on the outside, because I didn't want anybody to feel jealous. And then we were able to walk them on the inside of the circle. So all this kind of stuff helped the dogs feel better.
And this is over a 5-week or 10-week program?
This was 10 weeks we worked together. 10 weeks.
And now they're doing much, much better. The gates are down.
The gates are still up, but they're open. Okay. They're still just a little bit hesitant. But again, I think it's more for the people to feel safe and secure just in case. But they're no longer closed. They're no longer closed. And like I said, before, Bama is able to, now he's back in his positive spectrum of his dynamics. So he's able to, Sidney, he's not affected by Sidney's energy like he was before.
Sidney looks like kind of a bully, doesn't he?
Well, he's a bulldog.
Yeah. Well, So much for that. That works.
No, Sidney he is a sweet boy. He really, really is. He really is. He's just not believing that he deserves a good life. He wasn't believing he deserves a good life. So he was hesitant in, and he was constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop, meaning, give him being given up.
Now, do you know if that was just the second home, or had he been traumatized more than the one time?
I don't know. I think that his person that he has now was his second home.
Well, and he clearly loves his mama and stuff. It's just, And how many cats do they have?
I believe it's 2 cats. 2 cats.
Boy, those cats are going to need some help by you unless the dogs quit picking on them.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing I wanted to let them know is what I want to say is the big thing is the house needed to be smudged. Both of these animals are energetic, okay? And what that means is that you should be smudging your house at least once a month, okay? And really, I mean, just you clean your house, cleanse your house, okay? But especially for the energetic animal, it's super, super important because they feel the energy in the home, and the energy in the home feels icky. That's a good sign that it's time to it's a good idea to clean your house at least on a regular basis. And here's the way okay, because people don't always know. If you're not sleeping well, if you're having a lot of strong negative emotion, fear, stress, worry, concern, and you can't seem to shake it, if you're too much in your head, it could be a sign that you need to cleanse your house.
Well, they look very happy lying there together now.
Yeah.
Was that a something that wasn't a stage photo? That was they just saw it, and the animals went there by themselves and decided to kind of hang out together.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a way different thing because that Bama got tired of getting pushed around, I think, probably. So she went back after him, and now they're all better now. And
No,
are the parents happier?
I think so. I think yes. I mean, they're telling me that they're all doing amazing, and that's great. That's nothing better than to hear that, man. Nothing better.
Absolutely. So that's awesome. Who are we going to be talking about next week?
I don't know. I always it's whoever comes to mind. I usually don't know until a few days before.
Oh, and my son has said that he would love to get together on a StreamYard call to see if. But and I was thinking about this, and it's kind of like I think I already know what the problem is with the puppy. He's got a puppy that for those who don't know, it's a border collie, and 10 weeks old now, and the 4-year-old is a wild child, and mom and dad have got negative energy between them. I think the dog is just out of its mind trying to figure out where it belongs in that household.
Could be.
So I don't know, but that would be fun for us to go explore that and use that as a sample of some of your work.
Yeah, I mean, we could also do it so that I mean, again, I'm just throwing this out there, but maybe as opposed to doing sessions, doing the sessions live.
Yeah, that's
interesting.
Yeah, and do it on StreamYard, and so that they can get an idea of what they need to do with in support of the puppy and also the daughter and all that kind of stuff. Because I gotta believe that house is loud. She's a loud child, and the mother is. Oh, never mind. I won't go into all that. But
Don't go into that. You don't want to go into that. Don't go
no,
into
but it's interesting. So, but we'll have to look at that. So, is there anything else you'd like to add before we have to run away, my friend?
If anybody wants to work with me, please go to my website. It's my first name and my last name.com. Fill out the contact form. Look around. Have a look around. See if the work that I'm doing speaks to you. If you're having any issues with your animals, or you just want to work with them, or you just want to get to know them and deepen your relationship with them, that's what I do. That's the work I do. So,
So it's Coryelle Kramer with a K right there. You can see it on your screen. Just copy that down and .com and she's got all the information you need there. And it would be great to work. And we do this every Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern time, and of course the 2 in between, Mountain and Central time, or 1 and 2 hours. So we have a good time, and it is very fun. So thank you, Coryelle, for being here.
Thank you, Kevin, for having me.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. Anything else before we go?
Thank you, everybody, for joining and listening. All the people that watched, and Jennifer and Dr. Marnie, thank you very much. I appreciate you writing your comments down. It's all appreciated, because the more that this work is put out and the more people know about this work, the more help I can give to this world.
Exactly. And she's going to be on Coast to Coast again in May. So be aware of that. And as it gets closer, we'll highlight that a little bit more as well.
Thank you.
No, thank you. It's wonderful. So we'll see you next Saturday, everybody. And actually, I'll see some of you during the week, but we'll see you next Saturday for sure for Amazing Animal Stories with Coryelle Kramer. Thanks for being here, everybody. Have a great day.